driving the future of developer innovation. We have a really exciting speaker now. He was so pumped up this morning. I hope the energy levels are still going to be there. But it's an honor to have Sanjay Berry, who's the Executive Vice President, Product and Engineering from Vonage. Welcome, Sanjay. Clickers there, mate.
I appreciate it. Well, I got to figure out a way to pronounce Vonage, maybe from Henry. I hear it's Vonage, but maybe it's Vonage. I don't know. All right, well, good afternoon, everybody. I know that this is day 3 for Mobile World Congress. For a lot of you, it's probably getting to the point where you're kind of winding down and trying to collect all the thoughts for the last 2 or 3 days. So hopefully we can make this an exciting session. We actually have a pretty cool one over here. So I'm going to talk a little bit about, we've talked about developers and how Kamara and everything else is kind of coming to life. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that, but bring it down to reality in terms of what does it actually mean to you and I. What does it actually mean? What's the value? Ultimately, we're all here because we're trying to drive some value for us. And if we have value for us, trust me, there's value for everybody in the ecosystem. So, we're going to talk about that, and then we're going to have a panel discussion after that. So it's super exciting. Maybe just by a show of hands, how many people representing MNOs, CSPs, operators over here? Ah, okay, cool. And then how many people representing enterprises, maybe partners, companies who are just curious about the space? Okay, cool. It's a good mix. So let's get right into it, and I think maybe you'll see some of that show through over here. So the way to think about this, and the way, I was looking at what's happening today in the network world, right? Go back 20 years. Look at what happened with compute and storage. If you're a developer, if you're an enterprise customer, at the end of the day, you just need 3 things to build things that you need to create. You need storage, you need compute, you need network. That's it, just those 3 things, right? Last 20 years, when you were trying to build something, you were able to access a storage or a compute block. How did you do that? You literally had to create an invoice and send it out to a VAR or an MSP and be able to get access for maybe a 20 gig storage block, or maybe a 1.6 gig RAM, or some kind of a configuration that you had to manually put in and get that in return, and then it was provisioned maybe over a matter of weeks. What happened after 20 years? Now it's literally just one API call. And that one API call goes to any of the hyperscalers. Boom, you're up and ready as a developer, and you can start coding, you can start building your application. That happened because the compute and storage were opened up, and all the services were made available in a very easy way to consume. That's exactly what's happening in the network now. Network has its day coming up, finally, where it's not just the services which are going to be available, the capabilities, the hidden capabilities in the network, which a lot of us know about, but the 8 billion people in the world don't. So think of all the capabilities like, where is my SIM today? How is it swapped? Or what's my ID in the network look like? And the ID happens to be my phone number, my location, not location through GPS, but location through the cell ID triangulation. All of that is hidden in the network. Some of us know that, but most people outside don't. Now, for the people that do know this, how do you expose it? How do you actually create value from it so that it's easy to consume for the 25, 30, 50 million developers that are out there in the world? How do you do that? How do you bridge that gap? And then as you do that, how do you scale? Compute storage, different problem, right? There were no regulations. I wouldn't say there were no regulations. They were not the regulations that we see in the network, in the telco industry. Highly, highly regulated, right? So how do you take a highly regulated industry and then scale it out rapidly? That was a challenge. But I think we're finally now solving that challenge. And how are we solving it? We're solving it by creating this kind of a supply-demand curve. On the one side, there's a supply of all the functions, all these services which are hidden in the network. They're all going to get exposed. Kamara is playing a big role in that. It's standardizing all the ways that this is going to get exposed. So it's playing a big role in that. And then on the demand side, which is all the developers, the enterprises, which are using existing capabilities, they can leverage those as part of standardized SDKs, packages, and that's what we see. There are no network developers in the world. There are no network developers. In fact, most people when they develop their applications. They want to do it because they want to make money, and they want to make money as a web application or a mobile application. That's it. That's the two ways to get to you and I. I fire up my iPhone, and I look at my app store, and I see all my mobile apps. Or if I go to a web app, that's how I consume my content information. That's it. There's just mobile apps and web apps. There are really no network developers. So how do you take the capabilities of the network and make it available to them in such a way that it's easy for them to consume without ever having to think about the network? But they still get more out of it. That's the magic of the stack. This stack goes from, I call it, the most complex at the bottom to the most simple at the top. So the RAN, the packet core, these are core network capabilities that are there underneath, right? And for a lot of the people from the telco and the operator world, you will understand this inside and out. But then if you are a web app developer who is just building another application so that they can make sure that they can authenticate their entry point, they can get more users, they don't care. All they need is just that single entry point for them to get an API from the bottom. And that bottom is network number verification. That's a Camara API, which we have launched over here in Spain and Germany with our partners. So you need this full stack for network to finally be completely unpacked, be completely servicized, and be able to scale the same way that compute and storage scaled. We do that, trust me, there's a lot of money here in the middle of it, and a lot of money to go around for every one of us in the process. But the magic has to be the end-to-end view. It can't be just one layer or the other layer. It has to come from the bottom. It has to go all the way to the top. And then finally, yes, there's all cool use cases that you hear about. Drones and VR and XR. Yes, all of that stuff is going to happen. But what you'll start to see first is what would be just some basic use cases which we'd use every single day. Authentication is a great example of that. And I'll show you right here. I mean, this is an extension of what we're starting to see. Authentication, location, how do you track the device data? Of course, given the privacy rules within the country. These are capabilities that you're going to start to see exposed, and you'll start to see how developers use this. And by the way, this is not something that's fictitious. It's not something that's out there. We have launched it, and we are seeing the usage of that from existing customers who are our customers already. We have about 1.5 million plus developers in our ecosystem, and we have about 120,000 plus enterprises who are our customers. They're already starting to look at this. So this is real. This is here and now. And then in the future, for sure, you will start to see a lot more around how quality on demand, QoD, gets used in a drone or a video or a field maintenance kind of use cases. Very exciting as well. And I think you'll hear a lot more about that in the next coming months as we move on to next MWC. One thing we did announce, and maybe this is worth pointing out, it's a validation of what the work that Camara has been doing, is two APIs, which is the Number Verify API, as well as the SIM Swap API. And then in addition to that, we've extended the capability for doing what's called network registration. This is a necessary capability that you need to have if you are using anything from the network. So it allows a developer or enterprise customer to know which CSPs to cover or which CSPs to choose, and it allows the CSPs to determine who are the developers and what are they using. So this is almost a required capability. We launched it. It's called VNR, Vonage Network Registry. It's the industry's first registry like this for network APIs. So you'll see that scale out even further. So I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but I'm just going to leave you with one thought. And this is one of my fun slides. We have received ourselves every single day, today as an example, about 3.6 billion notifications. 3.6 billion notifications every single day. These notifications in the form of in-app notifications or chat or SMS, etc. And what are they for? They're for things like delivery. My package got delivered. I have a doctor's appointment that I was going to get. Or I got this OTP message, something like that, right? Try responding back to any one of them. Try just kind of responding back when you get an SMS. You get nothing. You'll most likely get, oops, I don't understand it, or it's an error. That's what the world was before. What you're going to start to see is the world move into this more conversational experiences where you'll be able to respond back to that. You'll be able to have a conversation with the brand that you're working with. And those conversations are going to turn into more immersive experiences. To do all of that, as the world is transitioning from this transactional world to a conversational world, you will need the capabilities of the network. It will be required for us to allow those functions to be a surface. And the way we're going to surface it, going back to the whole stack, the full stack is required, and that's where the developers are going to create these kind of use cases. So I'm just going to summarize over here and maybe just say it is absolutely the time for the network to play at the same level as storage and compute did for the last 20 years. And now, not only do we have the capabilities inside the network, but there's the standards that are getting developed, Kamara being one of the more important ones, and then how do we drive that demand up on the top, but it's absolutely real. So with that, I'm actually going to invite our panel over here to talk in more detail and share their perspectives. Please. Welcome. Yes. Welcome. Marty, welcome. Awesome. So maybe let's just start by doing a quick round of intros. Oh, we're missing one. Missing one. There we go. Perhaps let's just start with a quick round of intro. Did any of what, and maybe one quick sentence, did any of what I just said made sense? So, Peter, start, please.
Nothing made sense. No, just kidding. As always, Savinay, great introduction, and you really introduced that topic nicely to our people here. So briefly, also the round of introduction. So I'm Peter. As you can see, color-wise, I'm representing Deutsche Telekom, so magenta, and I'm in charge of a newly formed unit, which is all around exposing APIs to the market.
Wonderful. Thank you, Peter. And maybe, Ronald, I can ask you to introduce yourself, please.
Okay, check. Thank you. My name is Ronald. I was coming from Indonesia, Telkomsel. So we are serving around almost 160 million of our customers. Thank you.
Welcome.
Hello, my name is Chris Halton. I work for Verizon. My role is product strategy and innovation. Me and my group are responsible for bringing new technologies and new products to life. One of our core areas that we've been focusing on is network APIs, and very excited to be here.
Thank you.
Last but not least, so I'm Martin. I work for SAP. I'm running the New Ventures and Technologies department, and I'm looking into the opportunities of new technologies and how we can leverage them within the SAP space.
Awesome. So if you see, this is a really interesting combination. You have three operators which are very progressive in their own spaces. And then you have Martin, who comes from the other side, which is leveraging the capabilities that are being developed through the network APIs. And so we're going to have a really interesting conversation. So maybe let me just start with one question. Why are we talking about network APIs now, when feels like the topic of APIs has been around, the 3GPP standard for release 16 has been around for the last 6-7 years. And there's been a lot of conversation that has happened. So why now? Maybe, Chris, you can start.
It's a simple question, and I think there's a few different reasons. I spent a lot of my career in media and entertainment, and I've been through a lot of evolutions. And if you think about the delivery of services, data, it's largely been the content delivery networks or a hosted solution delivering to an end user their experience, whether it be video, a stock price, what have you. The network was there, but the network was just in the middle. It didn't really it played an absolute critical role, but it wasn't in direct control from the application to the end user's experience. So that's one thing. The other dynamic is consumers' insatiable appetite for new ways. They want things quick, they want things now. 5G, the rapid deployment of networks, it's gotten to a point where it's literally real time. On top of that, last one, the developer community has evolved to such a point where APIs are really being built. The generation of developers that are coming out are not looking to build everything from the ground up. They're leveraging services that are available in the developer community. So there's an expectation for the developers and the app builders. There's an expectation on the consumer side. And it just so happens that in between that, the telcos are rising to a point where they're providing software-based solutions as well as APIs that are digestible by that very developer community in a way that they're used to consuming. And there are critical use cases that can play a critical role in between the origin, and the destination, and that's what we're going to be exposing very soon.
Very cool. Peter.
Now, since Chris has already chosen to provide the customer-specific answer, I'll add another flavor to this one, and I want to be really honest to ourselves and to you. At the end of the day, for us, this is in addition to the customer-centric perspective, also all about how do we monetize these billions of investments in our networks. And if at the end of the day, we end up with where we are currently at, that almost every telco had to give away 5G more or less for free. Let's face it, I have not seen that many who were able to increase their tariffs after they've introduced 5G. Also, if we look at, be it now IoT or the private networks, the campus networks, I have not seen that many business cases really coming to life to the extent as if they were planned, So if this is the current reality, we can discuss 6G. The problem is no one can afford it because no one is paying for that. So if we as the industry are not solving the challenge that we can monetize the invests, and I'm not talking about the OTTs who do a beautiful job in monetizing our infrastructure investments, I'm talking about ourselves. So we need to find ways that we participate in that game. And this is what it's in addition to add the innovation, to provide additional functionality and features for our customers. This is in addition why it's so damn needed for the telco industry to find that answer.
And I think, Ronald, you and I had a similar conversation that Peter just did, so maybe share your thoughts, please.
Thank you. So I think both of them have bring a very good thing. So let's try to see from the customer perspective. Our motto on Telkomsel is actually touching our customer heart. So if we are touching their heart, they will stay with us. We're thinking about creating innovations that help us to increase our business, collaborating with each other. So that's why we are creating this. I'm giving you a simple example. In Indonesia, we are the biggest country that using red hailing. So at that time, we are using red hailing silent authentication with our APIs. We are collaborating with them, and our customer very happy with it. So it's like a very good collaboration between us and the red hailing providers. So, yeah.
Very good. Thank you. So maybe let's switch it up a bit. So Martin, I mean, you can see there's a lot of excitement on the overall capabilities that are getting generated through the network. What interested you when you started looking at the problems you're solving in SAP? SAP is a massive company, a lot of different business units, a lot of different use cases. So what was it that kind of initially caught your attention, and how are you potentially leveraging some of those capabilities of the network now?
Yeah, happy to elaborate. So SAP is very excited about business processes, as you probably know. And the question was, how can we leverage 5G in order to make business processes more smoothly and easier, so really leverage the capabilities of this technology. And together with Vonage, we created a vision prototype where we tried to showcase the capabilities. So in our scenario, we say, okay, there's an energy spike, for example, in an area of the city, and then how would you solve the situation? And then the on-site manager on duty is unfortunately not on-site, but has a virtual reality headset, and can dive into the situation. It becomes a video before. It's a personalized AI-generated video in order to get a first glimpse of the situation, and then can dive into the virtual reality scene and getting a digital twin with all the information on site in order to solve the situation. Then there's, of course, an AI assistant involved who can fetch even more data from, for example, SAP systems to bring this into the situation. Then you can also call an expert, for example, via communication APIs. Of course, you don't need to put in your passwords because you have automatic device authentication via number verification. You mentioned the API. And very important for these kind of scenarios, you need a very secure and reliable connection, for example, via quality of data. And then when you have the situation in your virtual reality scene, you can then start to try to solve the situation. So you can start simulations, all with real-time data, of course, and then if you find a hopefully suitable solution, then you can locate maintenance teams also via API calls, and then send them in order to solve the situation on site. So this was just a short glimpse of the scenario. So if you're interested, please check it out. It's Hall 2 at the Ericsson booth in the 5G area at the Vonage site.
You notice I didn't say that. So very cool. Thank you. Very interesting.
It's a cool scenario, so you should check
Yes.
it out.
Maybe, Chris, talk a little bit about, you have a big enterprise business as well, of course, and when you look across the different industries, and you're seeing the capabilities of what the network APIs are now providing, you're seeing what the communication APIs provided in the last 20 years. What are the things you're seeing which are exciting? Any use cases, industries that you're seeing which are valuable?
Yeah, there's so many different use cases that are out there, but I tend to lean on business cases that can help an industry looking to improve the processes that they have. What does that mean? So it's easy to look at some of the services that we mentioned earlier and think about how they can be applied for fraud detection, and give a sentiment for a certain transaction. Or you can move into the industry 4.0 category as you think about drones or robots in a private setting and so forth. So I think there's a lot of cases. We're focused on the ones that, not that we're not focused on our customers on the consumer side, but I think there's capabilities that are built into the network that we can expose to help protect other industries in ways that they have not been able to do before. And when you have that sort of dynamic and you have that condition and there's revenue to protect or unlock for our customers, there's value that we can create from the network to expose it to them in new ways. So I do think fraud, commerce, and areas of that nature, or even as you move into different industries like betting, in the U.S. it's becoming a lot more prevalent, sports betting and so forth. There's many different use cases where speed is critical, the transaction is critical, the location is critical, that can be applied in these cases.
Yeah, and what's interesting about what Chris just mentioned there on fraud, I mean, people think that fraud, yes, it's one of those things that's consistently there, but the amount of damage that fraud causes to a business every single year, I mean, without sharing the names, I can tell you one of the names that you and I will probably use, the amount of money they pay in just fraud is just mind-blowing. Yeah. So the savings that you can drive with tangible capabilities like this could be very impressive. Peter, what are you saying?
For us, there won't be that one, and this is similar to what Chris has said, there won't be that one use case. And that reminds me of the discussion we had like 20 years ago. What's the killer app in 3G? There won't be the killer app. There will be multi-use cases which make sense to customers. It's all around increasing their revenues, decreasing their costs, or increasing the customer experience. And there are plenty of examples. So I'll take two. One we also have at our booth where we had launched QOD, Quality on Demand. That was for a mobile camera team. And this case is really super obvious because as of today, these camera teams, they are equipped with like 10 SIM cards from one operator, 10 SIM cards from the other one for redundancy reasons. And then by somehow merging the upload capabilities, and it's still then a bet whether all the data gets transferred. They are going on the road to use this mobile camera team. In the future, and this is what we have already started to roll out, they use one SIM card and they book a slice through an API. And that's as easy as that. So this is a very obvious case, and it's super cost efficient for the customers because in a worst case scenario, that was even a satellite connection, which was even more costly than just the 10 SIM cards. So that's the one thing. And the other thing, and the betting is typically my example. You've not stolen it from me, so I'm gonna shock the audience as I shocked our board, because when they asked me what are interesting cases, I started to talk about the adult entertainment industry. And the adult entertainment industry in Germany is a market which is 5.5 billion big. And they have a significant challenge when it's all around age verification. And you can easily, through APIs and KYC, know your customer, help this industry to overcome the challenge. So there are use cases. You probably don't get them immediately when you think about the functionality itself, but as soon as you start engaging with customers, it's wow, it's really interesting to see how fast these ideas evolve.
And I think on that one, what's an interesting factoid is when SMS first came out, nobody expected that that SMS was actually going to be used for OTP. But OTP came much after that. And now, one-time password is something that we use ubiquitously, everywhere. Nobody even thinks about it. But it was not a use case anybody had ever imagined that it could be used. So to your point, it could be anything. Ronald, you talked about some very fascinating use cases that you're doing right now.
Yeah, so actually, Peter and Chris has bring a very good use cases. So let's think the other way. Not every use case is fit for the customers, so they have their own needs. So we have to think and what is their need, we have to follow. Mostly for them is more for less, right? So I have a use cases for the gaming. In Indonesia, we do the QoS on demand as well, like you in Germany. Every customer that play games, they need a very good latency in the gamings. So in order for them to increase the latency, they have to push a button. We collaborate with the developers. And when they push that, we will give them QCI and so on and so forth that will assure their latency. They're very like it. It's a huge business on us right now. So that was first. Second is with our enterprise. We are collaborating with, maybe you guys know, Freeport Indonesia. It's maybe second or third largest gold mining in the world. Freeport McMoran, they have a site in Indonesia. How we help them to control their mission criticals. So they have a very huge site, and they need to control their big truck in order to make their operations succeed. So we help them on that, and we provide them the API to control that. So again, hearing the customer is the most important thing because their needs will be very different. And we have to collaborate also.
It's fascinating. It's a breadth of the examples all the way from mission-critical applications in mining to authentication and fraud to adult entertainment validation. I mean, it could be a variety of different examples that come up. And again, who knows? So, Martin, maybe talk a little bit about, you gave a couple of examples on how you're thinking about this. Look to the future, maybe in the next 6, 8, 9 months. No, I'm not talking 6, 9 years, because who knows what happens then. But let's talk the next year. What are the things that are exciting to you as you look at the capabilities of the network that's being exposed and how you're driving some of those business processes inside of SAP?
It was hard to predict the future, but in the near term. So I think they're very exciting times because we see that different technologies now play very nicely together. And just thinking about 5G today, so I'm actually a 5G power user, so I was traveling a lot, so I relied on 5G in order to do my work. I'm also running teams remotely across the world, so it's very, very important to have access to your data, to your emails, and so on and so forth. And I think one of the next steps will be the combination of 5G and AI, because you will get personalized AI experiences wherever you go. Via your device, you will have your AI smart assistant, so you really get augmentation. You will leverage more and more contextual data from sensors and so on, so this will be happening very fast, I would say. Then the second one, maybe a bit further out, will be a new level of autonomy in terms of devices, so robotics and so on. And again, from an SAP business perspective, business process perspective, it will be very exciting because these autonomous vehicles, robots, and so on will do business process steps. And they will authenticate themselves, they will fulfill these business processes, there will be like an audit trail, so they will work autonomously in the work environment. And then maybe the third aspect I would like to highlight is a combination of both. So we already talked about remote work. So we've seen remote work works very nicely for office jobs. We've seen this during the pandemic. We can even scale it. So this worked very, very nicely. And I think the next level will be that you will see this also for blue-collar work, where you have a combination of autonomous robots or vehicles, but also remote-operated robots and vehicles. And for this, obviously, you will need 5G connections, you will need AI, and then you can operate your remote size, your robots, your factory from everywhere in the world. So very exciting times.
Very cool. Maybe switch it up a little bit. So, Chris, Peter talked about it a little earlier, but I'd love to get your perspective too. That what's in it for the operators and from exposing these network capabilities? Because again, it's been discussed quite a bit. So, but why?
I think you have to think about, the way we're looking at it is, we want to make sure the network is always valuable to our customers. And if you start with the customer and ultimately consumers and or the business customers, how can the network become more valuable? And it sounds like an obvious statement I would make. I think it also puts us in a position to continue to innovate in a way that hasn't been done before, and to, dare I say, delight the customer in ways we haven't done before to help their business processes. So as you think about private networks, private 5G, cellular connectivity, the network carriage, this is exposing a capability into their business workflows that they didn't have, as I said earlier. And I think it's an exciting time. In many ways, coming into this role, it's really, in many ways, a new frontier. A frontier that's been evolving over many years as you look at the hyperscalers and so forth. But the telcos are at a point now, this is the right time, because the reasons I said earlier, there's a triple dynamic happening between the developers and the consumers and the network capability in the middle to really highlight that value and to continue to innovate.
Yeah, it's fascinating, right? And if I look at, Peter, your journey, you started a long time ago in this journey. You had a couple of different starts and then stops and then starts and then stops, but then looks like finally there's something more. So maybe share your perspective on that.
Yeah, absolutely. So we started to tackle developers years ago, and we miserably failed because, I mean, the developer community is probably not really a national-wide one, and so things we really learned the hard way. And this is why, in that particular case, we thought we probably learned from the lessons we have probably not learned too much in the past. So first of all, we've partnered with one partner who has already a global developer community. This is you, as you know, and that's the one thing. The other thing is we are really, and even if my answers had been pretty telco-centric, we are looking at our customers and try to really understand what problem we are solving. And we have now built a new business unit to drive that API exposure business forward. And this comes with a sales unit, this comes with a commercial product management, so we're really looking at that end to end, and not the typical technical way. I've got a great function and product, and now I need to find the customer and the problem, which I'm then gonna solve with that. So this time we really wanna turn it around, and all these things are really different to the approaches we've taken in the past. And at the end of the day, and this is why we printed that shirt, we're really bullish, and this is why we've doubled down in this one, because we strongly believe that, and I'm fully with you, if we do not want to end up being the energy utility company which can't differentiate itself amongst each other, we have to find that different way.
And Peter's got the coolest shirts, by the way. I'm always envious of that, so I've got to find a way to match that somehow. Ronald, what's your perspective? I mean, you're operating in a country with a significant population density, and there's a lot of demand, a lot of innovation coming from that part of the world. So as you look at this, what's in it for you? Why are you doing this?
First of all, let's think again as a customer. So we're not selling the customer what we have. We sell them what they need. So I really can to see those capabilities. So for example, we have 5G private network, we have MACE, we have everything that the technology can possibly do. We can sell to the customer, but maybe it's not all they need. So we ask them what they need, and we come to them. I have a very good example. We offer our Ministry of Tourism. We say to them, do you need a 5G network to cover all the tourism area in order to serving all of our tourists? They say yes. But when we interact with them, it's all the way around, not the network anymore. Not only the network, what they need is they need to see the flow of the tourists that come to Indonesia. Normally, tourists come to Indonesia to Bali, come to Jakarta or the other tourist destination. They want to see the movement of the tourists. Of course, we're not seeing that, like you say, the specific location, but how the tourists come to Indonesia and which destination they go. So the government can prepare everything to serve the tourists. And it was very good because the ecosystem is very huge. We can collaborate with the hotel, we can collaborate with the ride hailing, we can collaborate with the restaurant and everything. So again, sell your customer not what you have, but what they need. Thank you.
Love that. Absolutely love that. So Martin, maybe let's just think to the future for even beyond 24. As you look beyond 2024, you're obviously driving a lot of innovation for SAP. Are there problems that you are looking to solve where you don't know how to solve them quite yet, but those are fundamental problems that you're putting on the board, and maybe there is a potential to solve them through this, but you don't know yet? Any examples that come to mind?
I think what is not yet fully solved is really contextualization and personalization. So really augmenting the user in any situation that he or she might have during work, and then bring this personalized experience then in the right format in order to solve the situation. I mean, on the positive thing is there are a lot of examples where we show that pieces of the scenario that I just outlined are possible today. So therefore what we will do is we will create, of course, the vision prototype together with Vonage. And then what we want to show is what are the different capabilities and how can we bring them into the business processes from an SAP side. So for example, one thing that we will do is we're working together on bringing the APIs now from the communication and network into the SAP world via the SAP Business Technology Platform in order to give the developers the possibility to work with them and also to show us what is possible, what are scenarios that customers might want to do, because we can, of course, think about what we have in mind, but in the end, the customers will tell us what they can do with it, and maybe there are new things that we do not know yet, but we can, of course, work together and explore them.
Absolutely, agree with that. So, Chris, we're almost wrapping up MWC over here. A lot of conversation around exactly this topic. Take us through, like, when you get back, what does 2024 look like? What happens between now and the end of the year?
Well, there's a lot of, new sneakers for sure, because I've burned these off, no doubt, as I'm sure many of you did. A lot of good things at the show, a lot of AI, a lot of technologies. There were certain themes, I think, carrying over from CES into here, different slant on it. So there'll be a lot of good follow-ups in that regard. I think around APIs for us and our team, it's really going to be getting the initial batch that we talked about launched, and with your help, with Vonage's help, we're going to get that into the ecosystem. But I look at that in many ways as a starting point. You know, the services that we've mentioned today, and while they're getting new light because they're being exposed in new ways, I do think that's the tip of the iceberg. I do think that there's a lot more capabilities that can be harnessed. So my focus, our team's focus, and working with our innovation partnership is around what's next and what are we going to be introducing. Because once we get the focus on getting these APIs to where the developers are, which is key to the success of this, and highlighting those use cases, we know that they're going to be excited about it. We know that it's going to prove out, but I think that immediately we want to be behind it with what's next and what's the next big innovation, next big thing, and that's what we think about, and that's, that's what we're thinking.
Yeah, maybe just a reminder for the audience as well. We did announce a partnership with Verizon to enable the network APIs to be exposed and available in the US market, so that's very, very exciting. Yep. Peter, what does 2024 look like starting from after MWC finishes up over here?
So we have now launched 6 APIs, if I look back over the past 6 months, and there are like 50 more to come, but it's not about quantity, it's about now quality to really get the right ones into the market. And I'm seeing 2 partners over there lining up for the next session. So together with Vodafone, Joanna, and David from Telefonica, this is now all around that we as partners generate that new market. If I look at the German market, it doesn't matter whether Deutsche Telekom has an API if our partners don't have the APIs too. So at the end of the day, it's all about the aggregated version of the APIs because this is what counts from a developer's perspective. So for us, now the question is, how do we scale that? How do we ensure that we have the aggregated APIs in the markets on a global basis? And while we are doing that and have a plan to get there, it's now in addition to sit together with customers, and we had many chances here at MWC to talk with SIs, with ISVs. I mean, we also had great discussions with analysts on the potential of that market. So this is what we now gonna build or have already started, but this is a longer journey to really get there, but it's super excited. And this is what continues for the next weeks and months.
And I'll tell you, full transparency, I don't come from the telco world, I come from the cloud world, and one of the things that I was told was that some of the telcos don't like working with each other when it comes down to creating these kinds of massive opportunities. And I'll tell you, I think somebody was telling me a lie, because yes, it was not easy, but it's incredible to see the collaboration that's happening, and one of the reasons why you're seeing the country coverage inside of Spain, inside of Germany for these kinds of capabilities. And that's how, to Peter, your point, it scales.
Yep.
Ronald, what happens now as you get back from MWC?
Yes, so first we've done with the camera API, we've certified with 3 use cases. We've done also federated with the other, like you said, with the other telco in Indonesia, because we want to open it to all the applicators, to all the users in the world, that they can connect to us using the camera API standard, and also with all the telcos, not only one telcos. Second, of course, we want to collaborate, including with you guys, with Vonage and our telco partner, network telco partner, where we can expose more APIs and comply with the cameras API. So it will bring more opportunity to our customer. Last but not least is we want to find the way to cure our customer pain problem. That was the most important one. That's all.
Very good, thank you. So you heard from the panel. It's an exciting time in the industry. It's almost you're creating a completely new market, but this time it's not just PowerPoint slides. I mean, you heard there's actual roadmaps that are there from Chris, from Peter, from Ronald on what capabilities they're going to expose. And Martin, you talked about how you're going to be able to absorb that and use them for tangible use cases. So it's an exciting time. It's a market being formed in front of our eyes in slow motion in some ways. And it's great to be a participant in that, and it's great that we got a chance to share that with you. So thank you very much. Really exciting conversation, and congratulations again for an excellent year.